My name is Tracy Reisinger, and I'm the Director of Financial Aid here at Marylhurst University. And I'd like to again welcome you to our scholarship workshop to help you find scholarships to help pay for tuition here at Marylhurst. Without any further ado, I'll turn it over to Alex.
Okay. Thank you, Tracy. My name again is Alex Gonzalez. I work at the Nella Center for Student Success. It's a nonprofit. We work with the community. We work with high school students, university students, so undergrads, graduates, parents, families, everybody, you guys as well, non-traditional students, and kind of anyone who has a question or interested in going into college, we'll start where you guys are. So we're a free service. We're located just south of the Lloyd Center, just east of Benson High School, right behind Benson High School. We run a tutoring program as well, so if you guys are looking and interested in becoming teachers or looking just to kind of hone your skills, your math skills, your science skills, your writing skills, you can also give back and join our mentoring program and tutoring program and help some high school students kind of work their way through high school, but onto college as well. We're like a community center for college access, so instead of going to the YMCA or going to a community center and playing basketball or checking out some ping pong paddles and playing ping pong, we help students and families find different ways to pay for college or different ways of like applying for different programs within college. So we have about 20 computers, work with students and families on applying for colleges, finding out different resources to pay for college. We'll help you with your FAFSAs, we'll help you with your essays, will help you with the big OSAC scholarship, which we're going to talk, and other scholarships as well. So we're a place where you can kind of work on things and get support, immediate support with a question, and then we can either get you an answer immediately or we'll table it and get you an answer in a couple of days. So, so myself works there, so Alec, I do, and then also Jennifer Setolino is our manager as well. So there's two of us, but we have a lot of support as well. What we're going to talk about today is really we're going to talk about different ways and strategies of finding scholarships, applying for scholarships, and what we need to do to kind of organize ourselves to get there. So there's a lot of scholarships that are out there, and there's a lot of myths in the terms of, will I get a scholarship? Can I get a scholarship? I don't qualify for a scholarship. I hear them every day. I can't possibly get a scholarship because it's too competitive is a lot of it. It requires an awesome talent. I don't have one. Only scholarships go to the top students. That's not true as well. Since I am a top student, so scholarships will find you. That's not as well. You're going to have to go and look for these outside scholarships since you aren't a top status, or if you apply for a loan, that many times a lot of students think that it decreases your chances of finding a scholarship. And really what financial aid is out there to do is to make a combination to make you, to increase your ability to go to school. So we can use a lot of different ways of doing it. And scholarships are one thing that we can do. The thing is that there are truths that you can find scholarships, and it can be easy with a little bit of help. So use your help, use your resources. You can use the financial aid office, you can use Nella, call the hotlines, call the scholarships that if you find one and you have a question, they're willing to help. That's why they've established scholarships, is that they want to help you, they want to help students. Sometimes you might not get the right person, but just wait and kind of ask that question, and it doesn't necessarily have to be, the question doesn't have to be answered right away. We can table it and work on the things that we need to work on. But always utilize your help. Winning a scholarship does take some organization, some attention to detail, because we want to make sure that we qualify for that scholarship, and that also that we're giving them the right information and posing and letting us be the best candidate possible. New scholarships come out all the time. Just like students graduate, they go on, they start foundations, or they go on and become the next Microsoft 7 creator or whatever, and they get some money on their hands and they want to give back. So there's new scholarships out there. So potentially if you're in school, and you were like, well, I didn't qualify for any scholarships. Sure enough, I'm not going to be able to qualify for another one. Well, there's lots of different types of scholarships that come out, and they come out different times. And there might be scholarships that you might be eligible for as an undergrad that you weren't eligible for before you started school. And don't overlook the smaller awards. That $100 can make a difference with books. It can make a difference with living expenses. That $1,000, we don't want to put all our eggs in one basket and look for that. Well, if I apply for this $10,000 scholarship, all my prayers are answered. Well, we can get there or potentially make a dent into that with some of the smaller scholarships as well. And oftentimes, not a lot of people apply for those local scholarships, and they might have more money to give away. They just advertise that, the minimum amount that they can. So don't overlook those smaller ones. Kind of sources of money as well. Grants, so need-based, so those are going to be through the FAFSA and through the financial aid office. Primarily, they're going to be need-based, and then scholarships are going to be primarily merit-based. Funds used from college. So you can use those for college, you can use those for tuition, and the cost of attendance. And these terms are often, moved back and forth. So you might hear about a grant, you might hear about a scholarship, but potentially they might have an application, whether that's the federal financial aid forms or a school form, or it could be an outside form as well. But some also use the financial aid information, so merit-based, and then also can be need-based as well. So merits, they range from a lot of different things. So merit scholarships, awards range from a focus on volunteering, overcoming adversity, academic achievement, ability and a talent, so athletic, musical aptitude. Athletic can also be, there's a couple scholarships that you don't necessarily have to be like a top athlete. You just have to participate in a sport. A lot of people participate in the sport. They don't, there's only a few people that are in college that actually play sports, but they might appreciate a particular sport that you could potentially play for. So there's a softball scholarship that all you have to do is have participated in softball. There's a golf scholarship that you could potentially, all you have to do is like golf. You don't have to actually have ever been on a golf course. You could watch it in your home with your stepdad or something like that. And that's a true story. Somebody watched golf with their stepdad as bonding, and so golf bonded them that way. She never was on a golf course, never swung a golf club, and potentially got a scholarship because golf was an influence in their lives. So career aspirations, majors that you're interested in, but they're all going to require something, and they'll all vary. So this is kind of where that attention to detail and that organization really come into play, is that we need to read those instructions as well. There's some search engines. Where do we find these? There's some profile databases. College and universities will kind of go into this a little bit more. Financial aid office, academic departments might have the public library. If you're really old school and afraid of computers, you can go to the public library. They have lists of big scholarships. Save your back. Go online. There's a lot of great resources that we'll go over. And then in this packet, you'll have some great resources as well that I gave you. So if you got this guy, you got some great resources that we'll kind of highlight so you won't have to scramble and write the different dates. So kind of really 3 top tips of like winning a scholarship, finding outside scholarships, kind of getting down to business and really making it happen. Knowing yourself. So if you have any applications, you have your Marylhurst application that you potentially filed a while ago. Any awards that you're looking at, building a resume so if you have a working resume that you're working with that. Any volunteer work that you have, hobbies, skills, interests, work experience, and family background. So we want to take an inventory of all that, because what that'll do is it'll kind of build ourselves up, and we'll kind of use this as like a catapult to kind of search for scholarships and then apply for scholarships. So if we have this idea, we create this information, and we can kind of now we can explore for the different scholarships and we have an idea of where we're looking. Because there's going to be scholarships that are going to be associated with awards, where we might apply that on an application. Your resume might create different opportunities, like let's say I worked at Safeway. Well, I could apply for that Safeway scholarship or that New Season scholarship because I was an employee. A volunteer might allow us to explore for different things in the sense that we might have volunteered at Habitat for Humanity, so we can apply for a Habitat Humanity scholarship, or it might give us an edge in a scholarship saying, hey, well, it's the big business or housing foundation scholarship, so I've helped with building a house. Hobbies, a lot of people, again, there's a lot of people that graduated from college or that are in college or potentially starting scholarships, so they're going to you want to list those hobbies that you might be interested in. They also might lead to scholarships, skills, interest, work, and then family background. And this is also cultural, it's historical, it's potentially an employer connection. It could be clubs, veterans associations, anything like that that potentially could lead into that. So talking with, aunts and uncles or grandparents or it could be any association that you might be affiliated with, could potentially mean anything in family background as well. And then it really exploring. We work with a lot of high school students, but potentially in your guys' group and kind of demographic as you guys are undergraduates, there could potentially be scholarships that you could still apply for depending on your high school's foundation. And these might be for more rural schools. They could be for polytechnical schools, like Benson has scholarships if you graduated from Benson that you could potentially apply for or qualify for even as an undergraduate graduate or a graduate student. A lot of the rural schools in smaller towns have foundations or a scholarship that anyone can apply to because they don't necessarily get a whole lot of high school seniors applying to it, so that they open it up for their undergraduates as well. Colleges and universities, Tracy mentioned 2 scholarships that you could potentially apply for, but there might be some other scholarships that you could look for as well that might be in departments or different ways of looking at that. The internet, I have those listed on your stuff. collegeanswer.com is kind of a similar one to FastWeb. It's a little less spammy than, so you don't get the pop-ups in here and there, and you can also click on multiple boxes rather than having to kind of make 2 scholarship accounts, which I like the best. Because I might be interested in business and interested in architecture or something like that, or my major might be kind of interdisciplinary, where I have a focus on the environment and maybe on engineering. Well, I can click on both of those and kind of get my options going, because a lot of majors are kind of doing that this time. Also, Get College Funds, that's that OSAC. That's that Oregon, that bluish turquoise book that you guys have. It's a great resource. We're in Oregon, so we're kind of at the forefront of scholarships. We have one application for multiple different scholarships. So it's kind of made it easier for you so you don't have to look as much with those. There's over 400 different scholarships that are in there. Again, you're not going to apply to all 400. You're not living in 6 different counties and graduated from 8 different high schools, and you're a high school senior and a graduate student, and you're not majoring in health, education, mathematics, art, aviation, science, and everything like that. You could be, but most likely you aren't. So you're going to be able to at least apply to a couple of different scholarships, and with one application, it's a great way to kind of, use one application. You don't have to worry about, multiple different steps and everything like that. So it's really cut and dry. 4 short essays, short being 150 words. I'm sure that it might be a little bit more difficult to write, at that amount than you guys are used to. No more 3 or 10-page papers. You got to condense all your thoughts into probably about 4 lines, but they're really straightforward as well. College boards, so if you took your SAT or anything like that, they gave you a big profile on there. As well, there's a scholarship search that tends to be a little bit more national as well. Google, we haven't seen as many scams as we have in the past, where you would pay $40 and they would find you scholarships and guarantee that you receive at least one. We don't necessarily see that anymore, but that's something is that, again, these are scholarships, these are gifts. You don't pay for gifts. That's not really called a gift. It's kind of just buying something at the store. So again, we want to just avoid the scams. If they're asking you for a fee or anything like that, just like your FAFSA, if they're asking you for a fee at the end, you're on the wrong site. It's the free application for federal student aid. Scholarships are gift. You don't pay for gift. If you can't find a scholarship, Google is a great way to find it. If you know the foundation's name, you know that it exists, you found it on the list, but the website's just not there, or it doesn't link up, looking at Google will definitely look at it. And then also any local scholarships. So any local being in the greater Portland area, it could be in the community that you live in. Say you commute from southeast Portland, or you commute from North Portland, there might be scholarships right in your region. It doesn't necessarily have to be based on the school that you're at's region as well. More sources, community foundations. So if you're in a field or you're connected with a community organization that's around you, you could potentially look at that. So looking at your major, looking at your background. An employment connection, you might work for an employer, and they might, this is the big one where they say, oh, millions of dollars of scholarships were not claimed this year. Well, a lot of that is through employment connections. So you might have an employer that pays for a certain portion of your credit, and it might be at the end of your term, and where you have to give a report card and you get some A's or B's, and they pay for a portion of your credit. So looking into that, it could be a spouse that also is working in that potentially you could be part of that, a family member that's eligible for that as well. And any, community organizations, other ones, community organizations, churches, clubs, veterans associations again. So churches, and you can always think about it in the sense that you could start your own scholarship at a church. It doesn't, you might not qualify for it at the beginning, but somebody could definitely look at it, or maybe you do qualify for it. You're starting the scholarship, and churches are great resources. They're community organizations, they're local, and they have populations that potentially care about your situation. All right, so we've done all this thing. We've explored, we know ourselves. We have all these things that we could potentially add to our application. We have all these places that we can explore, and we've looked, and so we're looking for these scholarships. But really what we have to do is we have to apply. And that's the biggest thing, is that regardless of any student that walks through our door, whether they're a high school student, whether they're an undergraduate, if they're restarting in the sense that they've been working for a long time and going back to school, is that the easiest thing to do and get caught up with in applying for scholarships or looking for scholarships is not as looking for them. Students get really excited about finding scholarships that I might be able to qualify. Oh, look at this scholarship. Look at this scholarship. I can apply for this. Oh, I can apply for this. And the thing is they waste a lot of time and energy by looking for different scholarships and not applying for them. So if we find a scholarship, we want to set a time. We want to set a time where we can apply for it. So they're going to ask the personal information. That's why we want to know ourselves. We want to know. They're going to ask for the name. They might ask for a transcript. So it might be official, or it might be a copy. So official, it might take us a week to get it from academic records. A copy might just be that we download it off of your Marylhurst account. What is it? My Marylhurst account. We might need a letter of recommendation. We might need multiple copies. We might need a couple of professors. We might need a community organization. We might need somebody from an outside employer or something like that as well. And so we want to give them enough time with that. Financial aid information, they might have FAFSA or they might have their own form that we need to kind of use. So having a copy of that, or at least having the information there that we can use. They might have a resume, so making, again, while we're searching, is that we're writing down those things that we've done, so that we kind of make sure that it's easy for us to apply for these scholarships in a quickly manner, in the sense that, let's say I find a scholarship and it's due next week. Well, if I have a list of all these things that I'm interested in or that I want to study, well, then it's going to take me less time to fill out the application rather than having to go back and gather all that information. So list everything. List everything in the sense that you want the most recent things in your life to be listed first, and then go down from there. So we might not be able to list everything, but we want the most recent things that were there. So if it was 10 years ago or 20 years ago or whatever, we don't want to make sure that we just put something down there. But we want to make it more relevant, because you're applying for the scholarship right now, so that's who's applying for it, and that's who they're looking at giving that money to. Again, it doesn't have to be just volunteer information. It can be work information. It could be other community or school activities that you're not necessarily going to say, well, I took this class, but if there was any outside projects within that class or anything like that. So make that scope a little bit bigger than just volunteering. So list every activity. So if you participate, it could even be like, if you participate in a dodgeball league, what they're wanting to know is like things that you do outside of class. They want to get an idea of who you are. And the essay, and this is about you, and this is where you have the most agency. So everyone knows what a secret agent is, right? James Bond, everything like that. They go around secretly affecting the world by, assassinating or stealing important documents to save the world. Well, at this point, you have agency. You're not a secret agent, you're like a regular agent. Okay? So you're going through, and what you have is you have the ability to affect your application the most, right? You can't really change your name in a timely manner. You can't go back in time and change that grade. You can't go back in time again and maybe volunteer a little bit more or go work at some place. Or be a member of an association for 2 years. Might not be able to do that, and if you can, please let me know, because I have a couple students that I would love to have go back in time and do some things over again. But this is where you get to really either talk about what your circumstances were, where you didn't get that A in that class, or you weren't in a position to volunteer more, or the reason why I might have gone back to school, or I have a particular point in my life where the reader actually gets to know you, in the sense that they get to know who you are and the character that you are, rather than they live on Northwest Gleason. So we want to make sure that this is where we put our most time into it. We can find all that information. We know our name. We can we can identify somebody for a letter of recommendation, but this is where we're going to spend the most time. And really, in finding those strategies, we really want to find out those deadlines and work on those to kind of really make sure that that we have a plan, because it is going to take us time with that essay. And so taking that time to setting it up, and since and neatness counts really in that application. I read applications for the Ford Family Scholarship, and when students take the time to make sure that the essay is neat, that it makes sense, that things are capitalized. We're not, I guess this is not with my high school students, they're not using texting language. So making sure that they're using the right punctuation, because it lets me know that you guys are taking the time, so that when I see you next, because I've awarded you a scholarship, that I know that I'm giving it to the right person. Okay? And then also recycling your essays. This is the only time where you get to really recycle essays. It happened to me in college once, where I took this one class. I took like an sociology of in the environment, and I took a Native American history class. And this is going to be on YouTube, and I'm going to get like a F in that class now or something like that. But I got to use the same essay, the exact same essay. Did not even change the course title in the thing. And I got to use it, and I got an A on both, and I was like so pumped. But that was the only time, and that was my senior year. So, but with scholarships, the thing is that you'll be able to use your essays. Again, recycling, when we pull out, when we, are reusing a bottle, we don't pull it out of the trash, fill it up with water, and start drinking out of it. We got to clean it up, just like recycling. We got to essay. We got to edit. We got to make sure that it's fitting to the right prompt. But for the most part, the guts of it are going to be, the structure of it's going to stay the same and everything like that. Be personal in nature. And be personal in nature doesn't mean, create dialogue and, joke around, have a funny essay. Those walk the line of being kind of, this is an essay. They're really wanting to know who you are. Creating a joke about it doesn't really want me to give you money, like if, we're not in a comedy club. So really be personal in nature, and it's okay to talk about things that you might be a little uncomfortable with. Show me, don't tell me. So you don't have to give me the back history of all these different things. Is we really want to know who you are. What's going on in your mind? Those I statements. This is a lot of, if you came into the center and you really needed help and you were stuck, and I'm writing or rereading your essay or editing it or anything like that, is that we want I statements. We want you to be included. This is about you. This is not about what happened 5 years ago, or this isn't about your son, or this isn't about this person that changed your life. It's about how it changed you, or how this person influenced you, and what did you do from there. So it's really about those I statements. Grammar counts. You don't get a grade on it, but you're communicating with somebody. And so you want to make sure you're communicating what you want to communicate. Okay, so it's really creating that flow with that and that connection with the reader. If the reader doesn't get it, then they won't be able to know who you are. So spelling, make sure that spelling works out. And have other people proofread it. And multiple people proofread it. This is a big thing. Is that I'll proofread an essay, and I'll give a couple of rounds of it, and then I'll move it on to somebody else because I know them too much. In the sense that when I'm reading essays for OSAC, or I'm reading essays for any other scholarship or anything like that, is I'm thinking, can I give this person some money? And if I know them too much, well, that's not mimicking what the scholarship is really looking at. So we want to mimic that. So we might work with somebody that kind of, improve our structure, make sure that our spelling is working out, that our ideas flow in a certain way. But I want to give that, at the end of that, I want to give it to somebody that hasn't read it, that might not know me very well. And this builds you and gives you an idea of, well, is it working? Is this a good essay? Do you know me anymore or better or anything like that? So having other people read it, having people that might not know you very well can help as well. So like a professor, if we have a writing center or something like that, somebody that, it could be a graduate assistant or anything like that, a study group, throw it by them, that kind of thing. That helps tremendously as well. Getting that feedback. Answer all the questions. A lot of scholarships, they might have a lot of applicants. Some scholarships might not, but really it helps and shows concern when you don't skip things or just attach things on the back. Really fill out the application. If you have extra and they allow you to fill out extra or provide extra information, that's a place where you attach those things, but fill out the application as best you can. If I have to read 100 100 applications and I want to know exactly what school you're in or what major you're in, or what classes you've been taking, and that's on the application. I want to go to that section of that application as quickly as possible. If you have doesn't apply or see the attached or go to my essay or whatever, if I have to dig for that information, that is less time that I'm spending on your application, getting to know you, and more just kind of researching things that I might not be as concerned with. So don't leave things blank. Give a reason, that kind of thing. Show how you meet the criteria. You want to make sure that you're, just like recycling your essay, you don't want to, put down Willamette when, sorry about that, Willamette when you're applying to a scholarship that might be at Marylhurst. So, so making sure that it's relevant and that you're fitting into that. So make sure that you're meeting the criteria. If it's a housing organization and you're not talking about maybe the importance of housing or that kind of thing, if they have a mission, read the mission potentially. You don't want to stretch yourself to where you're so thin where you're saying, I don't have an arm, I don't have an arm, or I don't have a leg. We don't want to lie. We want to be truthful, but in the sense that we want to meet the criteria. We want to make sure that we're showing that we meet that and we're a good candidate. So again, really be truthful. Tell your story and make sure that it's you. Apply early. Apply often. Contact. If you have questions, give yourself plenty of time. The earlier you have, that kind of thing, the better you are. The OSAC has an early bird deadline, which is February 16th this year. If you apply early and you're missing something, they will contact you and let you know that you're missing something or something's unclear. So that's potential as well. That can help, kind of, if you apply early, the committee members, they want you to succeed. That's why they established the scholarship. So they might have the ability to kind of let you know that, hey, we only received half of your application, or we didn't receive. If you give yourself enough time, then we won't have to worry about, postmarks, or did my internet actually work when it froze and I sent it on. Central East Coast time versus Pacific Coast time. I've had students, I applied and it didn't let me apply, and it was midnight, but they needed to apply by midnight East Coast time or Central time or Mountain. So we want to make sure that we do that as well. There's some other scholarships that just freeze up because so many people are applying. So those national scholarships, give yourself a week, give yourself a couple of days to send that along, because that last couple hours could be like overload for the scholarship as well. The Bill and Melinda Gates did that last year. Making sure that you give yourself plenty of time, and I'm reinforcing this because it is really important. Meet the deadline. There are no late scholarships. You might hear about that. Oh, my cousin, he submitted his scholarship and they gave him an extra week to send in stuff. Well, give yourself plenty of time, because that's the exception. It's not the rule. I just had a student say, they extended the application for Portland State's diversity scholarship. Well, he's transferring to University of Oregon, and it's 15 days earlier. So there usually isn't a late deadline on top of it. Candidates, you're filling out the application. This is you. Tell your story. Put your address, that kind of thing. You can get help, assistance from colleagues or your spouse or whatever, or counselors are okay, or coming into the Nella Center. But make sure that it's you that's filling out the application. You're being the representative. You've won. Hands in the air. This will be good for the YouTube video. No? Anyone? All right. All right. So you've won. Thank you letters. Let us know. If you're working with somebody, if somebody read your essay, let them know. Send thank you letters. We really appreciate it. It helps us. It feels good. We can take those long hours, that kind of thing. Also, especially to the committee, Nella has a scholarship Sometimes we don't get as many students that are applying to it, and we might have extra money. Well, those students that send us thank you letters, we tend to give them an extra $1,000 here or there, depending on, how much money we have and, the whole scheme of their application. So sometimes that's the case, is that, let's say their foundation did a little better than they expected, or they had a dinner that, they got more money than they had planned. So sending in those thank you letters, but also those recommendations, because then potentially that following year, when you apply for scholarships, that person's going to write you another recommendation. And it can help you later on. Or you're looking at graduation, you're looking at grad school, you're looking at applying for jobs. They're going to be a better reference, because they're going to be like, you know what, this is great, they're doing it, they won a scholarship, they might tell them that, all these great things as well. Track your funds. So again, let your financial aid office know. Know what you can use them for. Some might be geographically limited, some might have time limits as well, so you might be able to defer that scholarship, or you might have to use it immediately as well. Some might be only for tuition or books or supplies. Some you might be able to be more lenient in the sense of using them for living expenses, or you might be able to buy a computer or that kind of thing. So kind of getting an idea, contacting them if it's okay to contact them and let them know, what can I use this for, that kind of thing. Some scholarships might be have more flexibility in the sense that, you have last term, spring term, or summer term, you have an outstanding debt, is that going to take it, that, paying off that debt is going to allow you to re-enter school for that next term. Maybe they're into making sure that you can go and making it possible for you to enter college or continue your degree. So they might say, well, we can retroactively pay that kind of thing. So again, that thank you letter is going to help you out that way. And then again, some might be taxable. Those are primarily through graduate programs and that kind of thing. Other sources. So we didn't find scholarships. We want to be creative. That's where we're looking for scholarships. We want to make sure that we're looking for other sources as well. AmeriCorps, this is a great program. I did 2 years of AmeriCorps. I worked for the Aspire program, which is connected to the OSAC scholarship as well. And I was able to kind of work in the field that I wanted to, and then also get money for college. So it paid off some student loans, and it allowed me to have some money for grad school as well, or just take classes. So kind of, I can take classes at PCC or Portland State or University of Portland or Marylhurst to kind of get if they have a class, I have money that I can use and use that towards graduate or post bachelor's degree stuff. If we're looking at the military, it is an option. Again, there's scholarships and grants that are offered. I do encourage you, though, that you're part of the ROTC program, or the Reserve Officer Training Corps. This kind of aid comes at the beginning of your service rather than at the end, where we are at war in two countries. So, investing in yourselves and receiving and kind of doing it on the forefront rather than the back end of it, like the Montgomery or GI Bill or the National Guard. Those are kind of different options that we can look at in the military. Getting help, kind of winding down. In this packet, all these websites are connected as well to this packet and on the different documents that I give you. If you don't have them, they're in the back. Finaid.org is a great website if you're looking at kind of different merit-based scholarships, not necessarily need-based scholarships. They have a great list that way. Federal Student Aid has some lists on scholarships as well. Get College Funds, the OSAC, so that through that Teal workbook. Go online to start this application. So really apply, go online, create an application, start it that way. If you've applied in the past, They have your information already stored, so it's really easy. Go in, recycle those essays, tweak them a little bit. You've done a little bit more. Add to your resume or your activity chart. Add those scholarships. Sitting there and looking at the booklet and looking at all the scholarships you could potentially apply for is not applying. So really apply. Okay, go online and get started on there. It has helpful hints of where you're missing things, what you need to update, that kind of thing. But go online. Don't look at the booklet. Okay, get there, get that done. The Nella Center for Student Success, we have some good resources that are online. We have some lists of different links and that kind of thing. If we're looking at student loans or kind of deferring student loans later on once we've graduated, the Nella, our parent organization, which is a kind of a loan guarantor, kind of backs your student loans, has a lot of good information about consolidating loans, income rebase payment, kind of setting up what you need to do, that kind of thing, if you're looking on that end. Again, helpful places. Your high school, we work with a lot of high schools, so you might be going to your high school, but they're potentially, if you're looking in a rural area, go back and there might be scholarships that you could potentially do. The Nella Center, College Goal Oregon, those will be at the community colleges where you can fill out your FAFSA. If you haven't done that, you can always come into the center. College financial aid offices, Marylhurst College financial aid office is really great. They'll help you out. FinAid.org or Fin for a Fed Aid. If you have those, midnight questions, you wake up in a panic and you have to have that financial aid information right there. I believe they're pretty extended hours. My name is Alex Gonzalez. This is my contact info. I have cards back there as well. It's to our main line. That's the best way right now to get a hold of us because I'm usually stuck at a computer working on adjusted gross incomes, tax deferred pension plans, and what you have in your cash savings and checking accounts as well. So working on that, just working on the FAFSAs. Get a big push. Make sure that you fill that in. Estimate your numbers if they're similar from last year. But again, we want to get that Oregon Opportunity Grant. We never know when it's going to run out. Again, so you can email me as well. You can check out our website. Okay? Yeah.